Excuse me, Mr. DJ.
Yo, check this out. We got a great show coming your way.
From the ECSI Sports Studios, the #1 sports information program in America, the Breakfast Bankroll, with your host, the sports broker, Jeff Dawson.
Good morning, sports fans from all around the globe. I'm your host, Jeff Dawson, East Coast Sports Investors, and this is your weekly Big Ten preview with our co-host, Mr. Southside Riley himself, Riley Magnuson. And we were talking behind the scenes before we got started today, and it's our first official Friday where we're not just talking Big Ten football, which they got 7 games. We got some Big Ten hoops tonight, and the headline of Michigan State and Gonzaga. And listen, hats off to Tom Izzo. Me and Riley were talking about their schedule of death in November. He's taking no punches. He wants it all. He bring in Gonzaga, bring in Kentucky. We're not afraid. I don't care if we're playing on a boat or the moon. Bring them on. And as I like to say, it's great from a coach's perspective because to be the best, you want to play and hopefully compete and beat the best. And early in the season, you get a good temperature of exactly where your team is. And they're like 11 and a half point dogs tonight. But this Zags team, as always, is a wagon. But this is Izzo. This is, game 2, I think, for both these teams. It's on a boat. I don't think ECSI will be dabbling. I know I'll be watching it. That's for damn sure. I'm going to be watching this one. But just because it's on TV doesn't mean, obviously, that we have to invest and wager on it. But I am super fired up. I am stoked for the weekend. There is a ton of games to talk about, to highlight. The ECSI VIPs 4-1 this season to start in college hoops. I was talking to Riley, and last night on the closing bell, I mean, our eyes were spot on. And we talked about Kansas first half. We talked about St. Mary's rolling. He talked about his alma mater. And it's just so nice when a plan comes together. I know it's so early in the season, and if you go out on the gambling Twitter, there's guys out there 2-9, 2-10, pulling their hair. We're just trying to fine-tune this. We're just trying to see what our eyes see, throw it back and forth like a pitchback, and that's what we do here. We educate, and we save the entertainment for that 4-letter word, and I won't even give him the props here. But without further ado, let's bring him in, the one, the only, Mr. Southside Riley himself, Riley Magnuson. Morning, Riley.
Morning, my friend. Happy Friday, as always. I am very excited to be here on Friday, as I always am for these Big Ten shows, but now we've been waiting for it. We've got the crossover, my friend, and I didn't look ahead too much the last few weeks. I was worried we were going to have a slate full of 7 basketball games with 20-point spreads and whatnot, and those are there for sure. But yeah, you said it. We got not only the Michigan State Gonzaga game, but in the formerly known Miller Park, Milwaukee Brewers Stadium, the old Wisconsin Badgers hosting the Stanford Cardinals. So I am excited for that one, as far as I love basketball games being played in goofy locations and whatnot. So interested to see what that atmosphere looks like I don't know if they've played any basketball games there before, maybe 1 or 2, but nonetheless, we've got some basketball to talk about, and of course we've got some football to talk about as well. Unlike the basketball slate, which is the 2 biggest games of the night, I know, and I think even the weekend for college basketball, a lot of unranked teams tomorrow, big slate. But college football, not the national billing, but you got the Big Ten West to a big weekend for the Big Ten West standings here. So I'm excited to talk about that. Purdue and Illinois. You still got Wisconsin and Iowa lurking in the weeds if Purdue can pull off an upset. Same thing with Minnesota. So we've got a few Big Ten West games to talk about. On top of a couple big spreads. We'll see if any dogs have a chance in those. So I'm ready to rock and roll, my friend. I've been waiting for this one for the crossover for a while, so I cannot wait, and I'm ready to rock and roll, my friend.
Before we dig into the meat and potatoes of the football schedule, I prefaced the start of the show, Michigan State Gonzaga. You also got a Stanford and Wisconsin game. Ken Palm, one of our sources that we do use, has Gonzaga beating Michigan State 82-74, meaning Michigan State will cover. And Stanford and Wisconsin, he's got 72-68. Wisconsin winning by 4. And I'm trying to see, do you have a number what that line is?
I was seeing 5 a little bit ago. Now I'm seeing 3.5, 4 right now. In favor of Wisconsin. FanDuel dropped it all the way down to 3.5. I see a differing total 135, 136.5 as well. So I imagine that one's probably going to be moving quite a bit here.
Yeah, I'm looking over here on our other spreadsheet right now. And a number of Wisconsin opened at 4, now down to 3.5. I'm seeing flat 4s for the most part. There is a 4.5 right now at Chris. So I'm going to bounce past the ball to you. You can preface the Michigan State Gonzaga, or you can start Stanford, Wisconsin. Give us maybe a little preseason outlook or whatever notes that you might have leading into these two games, and maybe what to expect tonight on these two games.
Yeah, you know what? I mean, the locations, I mean, is something to mention for sure. I mentioned Miller Park, but Michigan State Gonzaga, before you go too deep into that game, you got to realize this is the I'm blanking on the sponsor this year, but it's the Armed Forces Classic, so it is out on the ship in California. They've been playing this game for about a decade now, and Michigan State, for one, is 0-2 in these games. And as we were talking off the air, you know, this schedule for Michigan State is an absolute gauntlet. And good for them. You know, obviously, like you said, we'll take on anybody. But the MO for this team in Izzo's era is, kind of maybe not struggle, but stumble and maybe not live up to expectations in November, December, and whatnot. And then by, January, February, March, Big Ten, and then into the tournament, they're ready to rock. Since 2016, I think it's 2006, as a dog, last 20 games in November as an underdog. So not a ton of cases, but in their case, it's a lot of games against top 25 teams for the most part. 6-14 straight up, 9-11 against the number as a dog in these November games. So, and 1-3 the last 4. You mentioned it was your UConn Huskies that they knocked off last year on a neutral court. So, you know what? I don't know entirely what to expect. On the flip side, it's a little harder to dig up those type of numbers for Gonzaga in favored spots. They're obviously their last 30 games as a November favorite is almost every single game it's the last 3 years as opposed to 15 years. So, but it is 4-1 their last 5 situations straight up and ATS as a November favorite against a Power 5 team at the very least. So, from that, if you want to lean on that, then I might be okay with it. Like you said, I'm probably happy to enjoy this one as a fan and watch this one and see how it goes. The other angle, you just don't know what to expect on some of these sites like this. I mean, you've heard certain teams. Sometimes it matters, sometimes it doesn't. The depth perception, or maybe there's any type of wind or whatnot. It can affect shooters, so you just don't quite know, and that's kind of what keeps me away from it. I might if this total was down in the 130s or something like that, I'd probably be all over the under, kind of an indication that we might see that type of shooter struggling. But with where it is, I might stay away from that altogether. So I don't quite know what to expect, but I'm interested in what your thoughts on all of that is.
Well, I'm looking at our spreadsheet over here, and this is an eye opener to me because the actual opening line that was never released for the under over was 155.5.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So the corrected number that was released initially, 147, it's 143, 142.5. Now, that is a 13-point corrected number.
Yeah.
Now, I know they're not playing in a monsoon, and I assume they're not playing, in gale force hurricanes, but the thought process was that the actual algorithm and the numbers said 155, and you can get this at a 142 in some spots. Initially, for me, would say I think the actual value, if you needed to scratch an itch here, would actually be on the over 142.
Yeah, I think at this point, I agree with you. It's interesting. I think the one angle, I'm trying to look up just some, harder, weather facts or anything along those lines. It does look like the temperature might drop a little bit, but at the same time, this is a 5:30 game my time, 6:30 your time, 3:30 there. It's not like, when I first look at this, I'm thinking it's going to be a night game and it's going to be under 60 degrees. Well, no, it's going to be in the afternoon for them, and it's going to be, decently nice. So I'm with you. I would say if you were fortunate enough to catch the under at 155 or whatever it is, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself. But yeah, with that type of, I would be interested to see if the narratives keep swirling all day on social media and whatnot, as far as it's outside these games, tough shooters, whatnot, and you start to hear that narrative a little too many times, then maybe I think I'm 100% with you. So it was one of those situations. Yeah, like if it was in the 130s, I would say, all right, something's up here. There's going to be some goofy weather action and whatnot, but. Yeah, I could absolutely see it. I don't think it's going to be too much of an issue. I mean, these guys enjoy playing outside. So, and I even tried to go back and do some research. There's a couple games where it looks like it's in the low 60s, but there's also some games in the 80s, 70s, whatnot in these Armed Force Classics. So, if you start to see that narrative, then maybe somebody's trying to drive that one home a little too hard. So, I'm with you. I don't think it's going to be anything like that at all here.
Shout out to TJ. Long time no talk, TJ. I know it's been a while since we've communicated. A little social media stuff. I want to just hats off to your Stonehill Skyhawks here. You went up to the XL Center. Nice, good way to break bread. And 85-54 to my Huskies. Hell of a battle last night against the Quinnipiac, 102-95 loss at home. And but listen, hey, you got Army on Saturday, and then Providence on Tuesday. So listen, not like you're dodging any iron here. So congrats there. I know you're a proud dad over there with your team there. So I just wanted to say congrats, and we'll be eyeing them all season for you. And a shout out to Bama Marty. Good morning, Marty. Don't sleepwalk this week on Ole Miss. I know you got 2 losses, okay, but I've seen stranger things happen, okay? Take care of business. LSU's not a lock to win at Arkansas. We'll get to that at some point later this weekend. So chin up. I mean, don't blame it all on Bill O'Brien, will you? I mean, we could see something from that defense this week. So, all right, there, brother, take it away.
All right, just to finish it up on Michigan State, I don't think we actually mentioned their schedule. They get Gonzaga tonight, obviously number 2, currently number 4 Kentucky next week on a neutral floor in Indiana. Could be a pro Michigan State crowd, but still number 4 Kentucky. Number 16 Villanova later next week, a week from today actually. Currently number 20 Alabama on the 24th, and then Notre Dame in the ACC Big Ten Challenge. And then like I mentioned to you, I think at least one of those might be like a Thanksgiving tournament, so they might even have 1 or 2 more to add to that resume. So it is a gauntlet and a half for the old Spartans, so I'm interested to see how they get through that one. But other basketball game that is definitely worth watching, Stanford and Wisconsin. I think it was even like an hour ago, Jeff. I think it was -5 when I was just writing down what these notes were. Just to set the stage here, but now I'm seeing it maybe 4.5, but certainly now it's 3.5, 4 on a lot of spots here. So I'm interested to see what the story on that one is. Like I said, it is in American Family Field. I think it's now called, still call it Miller Park. Retractable dome. It's going to be 40 degrees there, so I imagine they will make sure that one's nice and sealed up as far as not going to be playing in Badger football weather. So it's going to be obviously a very, very, very. It's a home game at the Brewers Stadium here for the Badgers. So, but I don't know. Are you buying the dip in the odds there, or do you think that's a little fishy? And by the time this one is ready to rock and roll, Wisconsin's going to be ready to roll here. I don't know.
Well, I think the under-over will be the tail to me. So what are you seeing for an under-over?
Let's see. I have, again, this one's different. Let me get a bigger list here. 135 in a lot of spots. FanDuel has it up still at 136.5.
And I had that actual initial opening number at 138, 136.5, 135s. Just from past history, the Wisconsin numbers that you feel comfortable, 118, 120, 122s. Yes. This pace is a little higher. Now, listen, I know Stanford has some Ole defense at times in the Pac-12. They get caught up in the surfboards instead of the basketball game itself. listen, I'll be 100% honest with you. Wisconsin has been one of those teams when I lean on, they just throw up the middle finger, and when I go against them, they're just absolute rock solid. My initial thought process is it's a Stanford number. That's my initial thought process.
It does feel like that, and it wouldn't surprise me if Wisconsin wins by 1 or something like that. And this is just a really, really good game. I mean, I think if you caught the 5 on Stanford, if that's where it was, or maybe I'm mistaken, even 4.5, you're probably feeling pretty good about yourself. So I'm interested to track this one. If this one, I mean, it's Friday. If this one, by the time this one tips off, if this one's skewing one way or another, maybe that's a decent indication. I don't know, but I think I'm with you. I at least laying the points with Wisconsin it doesn't sit right with me here. So I'm probably staying away. I'm really excited. And again, it's a different. I mean, if you want to say the same narrative as far as the depth perception, shooters are going to struggle here in a baseball stadium as opposed to a basketball gym that they're used to playing. That I can at least listen to that narrative for sure. So I'm not sure what to expect. I'll stay away from it, but I'm with you. I think Stanford is at least covering this one potentially here tonight.
All right, we got some football games. I'm going to put you on the big screen here for a second, so I'm going to let you start there.
Alrighty, so let's jump around and get some of the side games out of here. Indiana at Ohio State, Maryland, Penn State. We'll start with Maryland, Penn State here. Penn State coming off of a loss to Wisconsin. A lot of people curious to see Wisconsin as 5-point favorites or whatever it was last week. Looks like a lot of people on Penn State this week. Penn State 10.5. I'm seeing. Still 7-2. They are basically out of the Big Ten East race here as we get going here with the losses they've had to Ohio State and Michigan. But still, I mean, if you get a 10-win season, you're obviously getting a very nice bowl game for themselves. They've got Maryland, Rutgers, and Michigan State still left on the docket. And Maryland, honestly, we haven't had too much action on them. We've talked about them a lot. They haven't been in huge games, but they can get out physical. I don't quite know what to expect out of this one. But the 10-point spread, 56.5-point total. I feel like could be a good chance for some points in this one. I don't know. Team totals in this one, 33.5, 23.5. Do you like points for both sides in this one, or do you think this is a Penn State offense kind of sticking it to this Maryland defense here?
My initial thought, just looking at this number seems real low. I maybe I'm putting Penn State too high and not giving Maryland enough respect here. What were the team totals?
23.5 for Maryland and 33.5 or 34.5 for Penn State.
All right, 1 second.
Yeah, no, that's all right. No, I don't know. I think their offense is getting back to that range, especially if they're not playing. I mean, against this Maryland defense, I think their offense should be good. I don't know. I'm interested. They got smacked in the mouth by Wisconsin last week, so and I don't know. I could see points both ways in this one. I'm not jumping in too confidently, but I trust Penn State's offense, I guess, is where my thought is here.
What? Give me the team total numbers again.
23.5 for Maryland, 33 or 34.5. 33.5 for 34.5 for Penn State.
All right, so the 23 to Maryland again. They I think they want you to say they're going to get to 24 or better. I would have rather had a 24 and a hook there. So maybe they get stuck on that 23. That 32, 31 and a half, 32, 32 and a half has been a go number. I just think that number of 10, 10 and a half smells a little to me. Maybe it lands 31-21. How's that sound? 31-23?
Yeah. I'm looking at last year, 31-14 at Maryland. Maryland's still trying to make a statement here to some kind, but I'm with you. I think these numbers are pretty decent here and tough to get into. So, the other one, interesting one. As far as the Big Ten West goes, we'll just go right to Purdue and Illinois. The game of the year, as far as the potential decider for the Big Ten West, if Illinois wins this one, they just about have this locked up as long as they're not losing their last week of the season to Northwestern. But they do have Michigan next week. So if they lose this one, if Purdue wins this, there is a potential four-way tie at the top of the Big Ten West. Purdue and Illinois will be tied. If Minnesota gets through Northwestern, and then the winner of Iowa and Wisconsin, four-way tie. And then there's some interesting games after that, which interestingly enough, Jeff, Purdue's got Indiana and Northwestern. So if Purdue wins this game, you almost feel pretty damn comfortable that they are going to, go on to win the Big Ten West. I know they've got the tiebreaker over Minnesota. I guess Wisconsin's got the tiebreaker over them, but Wisconsin and Iowa playing each other this week. Minnesota plays both Wisconsin and Iowa, so Purdue's got a very, very legitimate chance to win this one. And even before they lost to Michigan State last week, everyone that I know in Illinois country over here is already penciling in Illinois all the way to the Big Ten title game. And, Purdue obviously gets smacked in the mouth last week. And I'm not suggesting Purdue's winning this game, but as far as the fan base overlooking Purdue a little too much here, at least from what I've seen. But you're seeing 6.5. I would expect a better defensive performance from Illinois after losing 23-15 to Michigan State last week. But I don't know. You got a 3-point outing for Purdue against Iowa last week. Maybe you expect a better outing for Purdue. I'm a little too close to this one, so I need your help on this one. Is this line fair? Is this one swinging either way between these two teams? I don't know. Help me out with this one.
Before the release to the public, 47-6. So they're giving you the 27-20. So I'll play the game with you. It's down to 44 and a hook. So I'm wondering if they moved the team total numbers. So your initial team total numbers should have read Illinois, say 26 and a hook, and your Purdue should have been. It actually should have been 19 and a half or 20.
Yeah, I'm seeing now. So this is just the Action Network telling me what DraftKings is because I'm in Illinois. I don't have the option to actually pull these up on my books right now in the state of Illinois. It still says 26.5 for Illinois minus 110. Purdue 18.5 minus 130 to the over.
And now it's down to 44.5. They're giving you that 24-17 feeling right now.
Right. And I guess the other thing to mention, and I might like the under in this one. The other thing to mention, it's not going to be, I don't think even all around the country, it's not going to look like what it did last week, like in Northwestern and whatnot, but it is going to be cold. It is going to be around 40 degrees. And this Purdue offense, they're kind of an offense that's built for a dome or warm weather, which obviously isn't, very conducive to, solid play here in November in the Big Ten. So, I don't know. I don't know about the spread, but I do like Illinois to win this one, and I think I like the defense to hold Purdue down nicely here. So, I don't know. I might like the under the most out of this one. The full game under, it might be my interest here.
The way I look at this is this: if you like Purdue, okay, and they're going to give you an 18.5, which is a layup, you have to say to yourself, okay, how do I cover this 6? Can I cover it by getting 17? Because Vegas is playing mind games with you here.
Yep.
18 and a hook, right? They're probably going to get stuck on 17. That's what they're telling you, first of all. But if you can get to 20 or 21 or even a 23, there's no doubt in my mind Purdue's going to cover that game, if not win that game.
Right. No, totally. I'm absolutely with you on that one. I guess I wasn't putting on my Purdue interest hat, but absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. I'm not laying the points with Illinois. I think I'm interested in the under the most out of, at least on my side of things here. So
I think if you like Illinois, that is the play here. Right. Is the defense is going to carry you? They're going to get stuck to 17. Purdue is or less, maybe 13 or 14. And Illinois, would you say their team total was? I
think it was 26.5.
Okay, so you're going to at least get to that 23, 24 number. Yeah. They want you to think they're going to get to 27. So I do not have a problem with you playing Illinois today.
Okay. Yeah. I won't be playing Illinois. I'll just a win will be good enough for me. Of course, I've told you I'm not as big. I'm a bigger Illinois basketball fan. I'm not a diehard Illinois football fan, but now I finally start to feel some emotion. And then they lose to Michigan State at home last week, and they're en route to trying to get to the Big Ten title game for the first time. So if that happens, getting to the Big Ten title game, I'll be happy with that. So next one up, Rutgers and Michigan State. A little bit of a resurgence-ish from Michigan State here. Later in the season, obviously they lose to Michigan a couple weeks ago, but a win over Wisconsin at home, then last week at Illinois. Rutgers obviously 4-5. they've still got a chance, outside chance, if they can pull off this upset to, potentially get a bowl game. I wouldn't expect that, but 9.5-point spread here. I don't know. Are you buying Michigan State kind of being a little resurgent here, or their defense is still flawed? I mean, Rutgers' offense obviously isn't, putting the fear of God into anybody, but I don't know. I'm not laying the points with Michigan State here. I'm a little interested that Rutgers can keep this one close, but I'll have egg on my face if I bet Rutgers and then it's 31-0 by the time it's the fourth quarter.
I like the word that you use there, resurgence. Michigan State was like the redheaded stepchild for a while there. I mean, just picking them apart. Now you get a Rutgers team coming in. The actual numbers was 41-11.5. The public said not so fast, and it is down to 9.5, trending to 9 with a 41. So I guess initially some quick math here. 24-14 is 38. All right, so they gave you the Rutgers number again, probably at 16.5.
Yep, I'm seeing 15.5 or 16. I think 16.5 is the consensus, and then Michigan State 24.5.
All right, so if you're giving me a Michigan State at 24.5, I'll tell everyone watching and listening that wants to listen here, you take the Michigan State team total over the 24.5.
I like it. Yeah, I do like it. They had 23 last week, so then that obviously people are going to expect them to stay. That's not enough for them, so they're going to think that's another under there. And obviously Illinois is a good defense. Getting 23 on Illinois right now is impressive, and now you're giving them Rutgers, who I can show flashes defensively every once in a while. But I'm with you. I'm not taking Rutgers. It wouldn't surprise me if this is Michigan State lays another egg, but it does seem that they're turning the corner and at least figuring out how to how to come out with a really nice execution and matchup for these games that aren't Ohio State, Michigan, whatnot. So I think we're on the same page there. Interested where you're at. If you like anything out of this one, Indiana, Ohio State, 40.5, 39.5, 40.5 in favor of Ohio State. A lot of people surprised to see them last week in Northwestern. I warned everybody the early noon game or 11 a.m. game, and then, of course, you get the nasty weather, so that didn't help either. But now going home for a bad Indiana defense. Offensively, Indiana can score every once in a while, but very bad defense in Indiana's case here. So after what they did last week, now heading home for Indiana. Is there anything to play here? Do you like Ohio State to put the serious hurt on them, 48.5 team total, or is this a little too much for you for Ohio State here?
Well, the team total cash cow, got stopped last week. So they're 6-2. I know they got Indiana this week. Can you tell me their schedule? Do they have a break, or is Michigan? When's the Michigan game?
They get Maryland next week at Maryland, so obviously it's a tougher matchup than Indiana, but it's at Maryland and then the following week home for Michigan to close it up.
So the actual peekaboo game is next week at Maryland. Mm-hmm. So I look for style points. I look for early and often. A 58 with a 40.5 point favorite. And you said their team total was what, 48?
I can double check. That was just on the action app here. I can double check. It was 48 minus 120. It's interesting to see last year 54-7. Indiana, obviously it was in October, so Indiana's still getting some of the love from the previous year, and then they obviously ended up being terrible. It was only like a 23 or 21.5 point spread last year. And then Ohio State put the huge hurt on them last year. So let me double check. Ohio State, Indiana, 40.5 here on DraftKings. Actually, they're not giving me a team total, so that's why I'm only seeing the one there. So I see 48.5 on PointsBet is the only one that I can see.
And would they give Indiana 9 and a hook?
They gave them 8.5 minus 120 to the over. Which I get.
So does Indiana get to 10? Does basically Ohio State get to 48.5? When people look at this, okay, I would say the initial thing is to jump back on Ohio State's team total over 48. It's 6-2. We talked about it in the preseason. It's an auto bet. So if you did the auto bet, you lost the Notre Dame game and you just lost the Northwestern. In between, you won 6 in a row. So there's no reason not to get back on the team total over 48 there. Now, here's the question. Someone's going to say to me, well, Jeff, why should I just rely on Ohio State to get 48 when the under-over is only 58.5? Well, are you telling me Indiana's a lock to get 10? I don't know.
A lock? No. Right. It wouldn't surprise me. I like them too. I'm not going to bet on it, but I mean, their offense isn't a pushover by any means, so I could see it. But no, I'm with you. And I mean, even looking back at this matchup the last few years, even 2020 was I don't know if you want to call it a dream season or for them it was a dream season. Indiana gave them a run for their money, 42-35. But even in their good season, Ohio State's putting up 42 points on them. And then even before that, 51, 49, and 49. So I if I'm going anywhere, it's got to be the team total again here for Ohio State, right? So I think and maybe even I don't know. I'm trying to think here if you don't, I was because like I said, I was trying to think if 40.5 would even make more sense. But Indiana could score 17. It wouldn't surprise me if they scored 17-20, but Ohio State's putting up 50. So. No, I like it. I don't know if I'll take it, but Ohio State team total is the only spot I'd go in that one there.
And if you look in past history, Ohio State hasn't had that hiccup yet. And maybe last week was the hiccup. Maybe we could say that was the hiccup. They'll stay more focused. That following week at Maryland's going to be a bitch because they know they got Michigan coming in. And you don't want to be the loser of that game because then you got to hope that the committee is going to say, well, a 1-loss Ohio State team is better than a 2-loss Alabama team. And then you still got Tennessee with 1 loss. And does TCU lose? And there's too many variables.
Yeah. And I'm not saying they're losing next week, but I like that as the, potential hiccup game. If you're down or not 100% up from Maryland, they're talented enough to smack you in the mouth, at least offensively. So, I don't think it's this week. I don't think this is the hiccup, especially after – because, you might consider last week a little bit of a hiccup. If you want to chalk it up to the 40-degree wind, I was only, 10 miles away or so. It was disgusting here last week. So, if you want to call that a hiccup, if you want to call that just the early game at Northwestern with some nasty weather, you can call that. But I don't think this is going to be the hiccup here. So, let's see. Maryland, Penn State, we talked about that a little bit. Wisconsin and Iowa. Another one where this one totaled 35.5. I see minus. The books have this one all over the place. -1 for Wisconsin, I see on one. -1.5 for Iowa on another one here. I don't know. I'm interested in your thoughts on this one. Both these teams are starting to play a little better. Wisconsin's starting to play a lot better, I should say. Iowa, at least, defensively was fantastic last week, and I think I actually didn't get a chance to watch much of it, but I know their offense was a little better last week. If this one was in Wisconsin, the way they're starting to play, I think I'd be all over Wisconsin. But I think at Iowa, I don't know. I could see this one going either way. And despite the 35.5, it's obviously the talk of the town in this game. Everyone's talking about how ugly these offenses are. It's going to be disgusting, but at the end of the day, it still wouldn't surprise me if this is a 17-13 type game or something like that. So I'm gonna just enjoy this one as a fan because I love watching these two teams play each other. It's a good rivalry. The atmosphere is going to be solid, and not to mention, like I said, if Purdue wins against Illinois, there's the winner of this is tied for the lead of the Big Ten West and is telling themselves that they have a legitimate chance. Tough games, but winnable games after this. So I don't know. Do you have a confident side on this one, or is this throw your hands up? It's going to be a nasty, ugly game. Might even see it could go over on a couple defensive turnovers. I don't know. That's why I'm staying away because it wouldn't shock me if there's defensive scores in this one.
My eyes are deceiving me here, so I have to go to another sheet here because I'm playing Batman here. So give me 1 second. I don't know why my eyes are doing this today. Oh, there we go. 209, 210, 209, 210. That's why. Let me go over here for you. 209, 210.
The Philadelphia DraftKings got both team totals 17.5. The over plus money.
Yeah, so first one to 20. That's what they're telling you. I had a 35 with a 1.5. Now it's down to a pick. It's flip flopping. Haven't had good reads with either team. To be honest with you, I don't think I've gone back on the Iowa since they got me on the team total against Michigan about a month ago. My honest lean here is Wisconsin. That's my honest lean. But again, you could get egg on your face. I mean, I think everyone will be on the under. I think it's the first one to 20 wins.
Yeah, I mean, the Big Ten homer. I mean, if there's any degen in me, it's I want to play the under and hope for a 9-6 punt fest or something like that. But like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if there's defensive turnovers. Judging by, like I said, both teams 5-4. You know, one win and you're in a bowl game despite the disappointing season. Wisconsin at least seems to very much have at least a culture change to some degree. They seem a lot more spirited, a lot more. They're having fun. They're celebrating the locker room these last couple of wins. And not saying Iowa isn't trending that way, but you could also chalk last week's win up to Purdue having some issues. So I don't know. I'm a little nervous to back Wisconsin because just when you feel like this, the vibes are in the right place. Their defense is playing great. Their offense is playing well enough. Then Graham Mertz is throwing 2 pick sixes, and you've got some giant egg on your face. So I'm with you. I lean towards Wisconsin. But I don't know. It'll be entertaining enough for me either which way, so I'm going to stay away from it. But I do lean Wisconsin. I will go on record with you and say I lean Wisconsin as well here.
Yeah, it's one of those games, again, like you get a quick touchdown and then a hold, and as you said, a turnover. Yeah. One of these teams gets down 10-0, 13-0. I don't think that they're going to come back.
No. Yeah, if you love your old school or nasty Big Ten games, this is prime for it. Like I said, I haven't checked Iowa's weather. I know it's obviously similar to here. I know it's going to be probably 40 degrees. So, I'll be excited to watch that one in the afternoon there. But 2 more left. I don't know. Is there any night games in the Big Ten? No night games here in the Big Ten this week. We didn't get a chance to talk last week for the old Cornhuskers in their loss to Minnesota, but they obviously did the cover last week. They are headed to the Big House for a date with Michigan. 30.5-point favorites, Jeff. Last year's game, I saw a clip. A lot of people were saying if the one big turnover play went differently, it was 29-29 late in that game at the early October in the midst of Michigan's undefeated run in the Big Ten there. So any hope that Nebraska can give them at least some type of run for their money and stay within this 30, or is this going to be I'm seeing the game before this one in 2018 was 56-10 Michigan at the Big House. Is it going to be like that?
Well, I think Vegas is telling you. So the initial number was 51 under over and a 28. So we're up to 30, and the total went from 51 to 49.5, and I'm seeing 48s now. So there is a 31 at South Point right now. So give me Michigan's schedule. They got Nebraska this week.
They've got Illinois next week. So, kind of I don't know. They got they'll beat Illinois, but if they overlook Illinois, that's obviously tough.
All right, so let's do some quick math here. 40, 37, 37-10 gets them 30. So what'd they give you? They give you 36 and a hook for Michigan, and I'm going to say 10.5 for Nebraska.
I see 9.5 or 10.5 for Nebraska, depending on the book. I see 39.5 for Michigan.
39.5. I'm going to go on record, and I haven't done this all year. I just what's going on in the overall landscape. I think Michigan probably can score every possession, and I'm going to go on record. Michigan gets at least the 40 burger.
I like it. I do like it. And I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if Nebraska had some, offensive success here and there. And maybe the team total is a play as opposed to the 30.5. That kind of, I that's kind of where I was leaning. I'm trying to see if there's another number here as opposed to the 39.5, but I'm not quite seeing it. Let's see. Oh, actually, home points 39.5 on FanDuel, over 125. So I think that might be the bad odds spot there. You can probably get some better odds. I think I'm with you. That's if it was gonna be like last year, this would be a 20.5 or something like that, as opposed to the 30.5, right? So, I mean, even the game total. So Would you feel better about the 40 burger for Michigan, or I mean the game total is 48, 49 and a half. Is that maybe an indication that maybe Nebraska doesn't get to the 10 there?
I don't think they do.
Okay.
I don't. I got
Yeah.
more confidence in Michigan scoring 50 than Nebraska scoring 10. How's that?
I think I'm with you. That's how, and especially you as far as the we obviously don't have the ability to go into the locker room. They're 3-6, 3 straight wins. You got to. I think last week kind of was the last stand, so to speak. They've got to rattle off 3 in a row to get a bowl game. It's Michigan and what was the other two? Wisconsin and Iowa. Probably don't feel good about winning 3 in a row, especially with Michigan staring you in the face. So I think I'm with you. I might be interested in that team.
I mean, technically, this is their bowl game. This is their season.
Yes.
Listen, even if they don't go to a bowl game, but they knocked off number 3 Michigan, this is their season. Sure. So maybe they're inspired early. I just think Michigan's literally going to score every time. That's how bad the Nebraska defense is.
Yeah, no, I'm 100% with you on that one. So, last one up, another one, Northwestern and Minnesota. Obviously, Minnesota 6-3. Had the wheels have fallen off from where they were. 2 in a row wins now. 31 zip win over Rutgers. The 2013 win last week over Nebraska. Northwestern 1-8. Gave Ohio State as much of a run for their money as they could. But now you're seeing 17.5. Another situation for me where I'm almost interested. Let me see what the team totals are. I like Minnesota to have some success in this one. If you're talking about at least telling themselves in their own locker room, they still have an outside chance of the Big Ten West. If you're talking about true chaos in the Big Ten West, if Purdue can win over Illinois and Minnesota wins, they don't have as many tiebreakers. But they do have Iowa and Wisconsin on their schedule still left here. So, they'd be hoping for another Purdue loss to Indiana or Northwestern, which obviously isn't likely. But they're at least telling themselves that some crazy stuff can happen. If we win our last 3, we're giving ourselves a shot. And at the worst, they're 9-3 if they win their last 3 here. So I don't know. I'm seeing 29.5 for the team total, but I could see their defense really, really pitching a single-digit game here against Northwestern. So I'm interested in the 17.5. Am I crazy on this one, or do you think Northwestern's got maybe a little bit of a shot here?
I think Northwestern played their heart out last week.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw everyone here another curveball. What is Minnesota favored by first half?
9.5.
I was hoping to hear like a 12 or something.
Yeah.
No, so I can't go that route.
Yeah.
That's what I call is the bait, the hook, the carrot. Yeah. Because I was thinking Northwestern would come out a little flat, and I'd expect a nice start here from Minnesota. Usually on a 17, when Vegas thinks a team's going to do that, you're going to get around a 12.5 on that first half line, saying, hey, if you want to bet them first half, it's going to cost you a little extra. Yeah. At 9.5, I'm pumping the brakes, so I'm zipping that idea. We could replay the tapes for the last month. Minnesota, we've been waiting. They were right there. They were on the cusp.
They were.
They had the loss. They had the perfect setup at the whiteout game against Penn State. We've been waiting for them to say it's not over yet.
Yeah.
This is the setup, Riley. You got to take care of business.
Yep, 100%. That's why, and I think they do. I mean, they had a similar stretch last year where they didn't get to the Big Ten title game, and I don't think they will here again this year. But they had a little bit of a blip in the October-November stretch last year, and then they closed it out and got to a nice 9-win bowl season. So that's what I expect, and I don't think they're going to play around with Northwestern. I also love the angle of – I agree with you. Northwestern, I don't know how much better they can play against an Ohio State team, and I don't think they do that 2 weeks in a row here. So I'm with you. I like laying the points with Minnesota almost in this one here for the full game here.
No, I agree. I have no problem with people jumping in Minnesota. I think it's time to put the big boy pants up, and you can see the season ending in the horizon. Now, do you want to be going to East Oshkosh to play in the Potato Bowl, or do you want to try to do something here?
Yeah, maybe the Outback Bowl and actually have a nice televised game against a ranked team or something like that. 100%. I'm 100% with you there. So that about does it, my friend. Anything else to chat about, or we want to save anything for the weekend afternoon? Other Big Ten basketball games, but I think all of them are north of 18-point spreads, whatnot. So I don't know. Anything else you want to mention for the old Big Ten, or anything else today?
No, I love the crossover. I love this time of year. It's only going to get better. It makes it harder on us. Here, it's a Friday, so we're supposed to be concentrating, on the NBA, the NHL, a couple college football games, and then next thing you know, you see this huge college basketball slate, and you're like, "Holy shit!" There's nothing better than waking up
I know.
Saturday morning. And I know football season's great. I get it. I get it. Okay. But when you got 150 college basketball games
I know.
and you're just sitting there and from morning, noon, and night, and then at 11:30 you got BYU versus Pepperdine, and there's nothing better.
There is nothing better. And what was it the Georgetown game the other, or was it the Providence game? I don't even know. I'm drawing a blank. The other game that I think it was the Providence game that you called very correctly. And
Against
I'm drawing.
Ryder. Against Ryder.
Was that the game where Ryder had a chance at the end and then he just slips and falls at the buzzer? That was that game, right?
Ryder was up 13 at half.
Yeah. Am
And
I
they
thinking of the right game though, where they had the chance and then they just fall? Like it was it was a big underdog had a money line bad beat where I think it was Ryder where they had a chance and then they were winning and then they had a chance at the buzzer to score, but they slipped and fell in the court and then that was a wrap. I think that was the right game, right?
The other one would have been the Georgetown game where they were, a
Right.
bazillion point favorites, and I think that went to overtime.
It did. So maybe I'm thinking of that one, and it was a chance to win, and instead they went to overtime or something. I don't know. Either way, those types of finishes, whether you have action or not, it's there's nothing better than yelling at your TV about basketball. I love it more than I love them football and basketball equally, but there's something else about screaming at the TV about basketball at the end of the games. I don't know. It gets me going. So. I am. I'm sad we got no ranked. I don't think there's a thing. There's dozens and dozens of games tomorrow, but I don't think there's any ranked teams playing tomorrow somehow on Saturday.
TJ says, was it Bellarmine? Was that against Louisville, right? No?
Bellarmine, I think they beat Louisville. I didn't watch that game, so I know it wasn't that one. I think it was one of the two we said. Somebody had a chance to win it, and they slipped and fell
It
straight
was
on
probably
their face.
Ryder. Ryder. It was
think it
probably
was.
Ryder.
Anyways, but so I think I had it because I think I had them in an action parlay that ended up losing anyways on another one, but on my Thursday or whatever it was. But Bellarmine with a nice performance there as well. So I'm loving college basketball. I'm hoping we get some good action tonight. I'm excited for those two locations in the Big Ten to watch tonight.
I'm going to just give everyone here, since it's so early in the season, the tip of the day. Okay. And most of the people watching and listening are on social media. And if you're on Twitter, which is turning into a cesspool, thank you, Elon Musk. We'll talk about that later. But you follow gambling Twitter, and when you see a group and another group and another group all on the same one, I call it the public trendy dog. Just look at the opening number, look where it's gone to, pump the brakes, and just go on the other side. And I'm just going to go from this week here. On Wednesday, the public trendy dog was Florida Gulf Coast against San Diego. We had San Diego minus the 3, and I think they end up winning by 7 or 8 there. Yesterday, the whole world we talked about on the show was on UVM. A great story. They crushed the East. They're a good program. I'm not saying that they're.
I think they're top 100 Ken Palm, right?
Yeah. And again, that number kept dropping, and it went back and forth. I think it closed at 7.5. And again, late first half, St. Mary's, I think, up 9 or 10 at halftime. They won by 25. So again, I like to say this: put the cotton in the mouth, take it out of the ears, put it in the mouth, open up, clean your glasses, and just follow what everyone is talking about. And I know it's like on Saturday morning when you're watching Game Day and Pat McAfee's on this side, and next thing you know, Kirk's on this side and Woodson's on this side, and everyone. I'm watching the number light up like a Christmas tree. It goes from 5 to 4 to 3.5, and everyone's running to the window. Pump the brakes. It's okay.
Yeah.
Just don't follow that train. Don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe. There, I said it.
Yep, that's what it is. And and those, I love the ones that it wasn't on my radar, so I'm very glad, and I played it, and I'm grateful for the look on last night's Vermont game. every season you have those teams, whether it's they're really, really good the season or two prior, whether it's straight up or against the number. And I think in Vermont's case, maybe both. And then everyone's like, all right, this was my wagon all season long. Here I go. I'm jumping all over it again. It's like, all right, well, everyone else, the books know how much they got killed on this team last year. They're not going to make it that easy for you again this year. I can't remember what the team or two was last year, but there were so many cases of it last year, too.
Providence was a cash cow.
Yes. That's
Absolute cash cow.
As a bigger team, that's going to be the one so far, I imagine, this year as far as the power, the power conference teams. But even some of these mid-major teams as well, like the Vermont. I'm drawing a blank on who it was last year, a couple teams. But yeah, there's so many of those teams that have so much success in 1 year, whether it's ATS or whatnot, and then everyone's expecting it the next year, and it just doesn't happen the same.
Your neck of the woods. There was two teams, Loyola or Chicago, and who was the other one?
Drake, right? They had like 19 in a row. Yep, Drake was the one. Thank you. That was going to drive me nuts. Drake was one of them, and there's always a couple other ones too. But Drake was one because they had like 19 in a row or something like that. And then, obviously that one came crashing down. So, and maybe they ended up being a profitable ATS, but as it's not 19 in a row the next time around. You know what I mean? So, yeah, pump the brakes, people. Pump the brakes.
And if you're not, listen, the Ken Palm, I'm not saying it's the Bible, but I'm saying it's as close to the Bible as you're going to get. I think he went up $1 for $21.95. I think it is. You can get 12-month subscription, 12 months, and there's nothing better. Listen, I'm using a new site to the left of me. I got Wager Talk. We use pregame. But when it comes to college hoops, I got Ken Palm at the top of my tip of my thumbs here.
Yeah.
And again, it costs you nothing. It costs you nothing at all. And it's good to have references like that.
Oh, yeah. Do you like the projections the most, or do you like some of his in-depth stats and whatnot?
It's so funny you say that because I don't use it as effectively as some people do. I'll look at the games. I'll look at the matchups. I'll look at the final outcomes that he has. And then I'll do some diving, start in 5. I'll look at the bench, who they're playing the next game. But there's some people that dig into that, I kind of don't get in that rabbit hole, I should say.
Yeah, definitely. I was just curious because I know that one has at least the specific stats. There's some that I like. Then I have another site that I use for some stats. Team Rankings will have just full breakdowns of different stats across all of the sports that we bet for the most part there. That gives you some better. Again, you don't want to go too deep into it, but better than the basic points per game and whatnot stats. So I at least like to reference it. Like if a team's 0-5 against teams that are top 50 in tempo or something like that, and they've got a team that's 10th in tempo, then maybe that's something to look at. But if it's aside from that, who knows? So I do love KenPom, and I try to. Yeah, there's certain times where stats are a good pairing, but you don't want to get too deep onto it, like you're saying though.
Today at 4:00, we're gonna check later back on your schedule.
Yes, I am. I don't have to be anywhere until 5:30 my time, I don't believe. So I am good to go on the afternoon there.
All right. So at 4:00, myself and Riley will actually. You know what? Let's do 3:45. That will give us about a half hour to get started before Lucky comes on. And Mr. Follow Fade talking NFL, talking Circa. We'll get a jump start on the closing bell. And then when he wraps up, we'll close with the closing bell as well.
Yep, sounds good to me. That sounds perfect.
All right. So for myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from the one and only Riley Magnuson at Riley_Magnuson, the one, to TJ, to Marty, thank you all. It's been a great morning. Actually, now we're in the afternoon. There's actually a college basketball game, I think at 1:00, BC in Detroit. Had an opportunity to go, and I was like, no, I got some shows lined up, and I got a lot of work to do. So thank you for the tickets. I will definitely be heading up to Chestnut Hill. I just couldn't make it today. So we will be back here, in 3 hours and 15 minutes. So everyone, enjoy lunch, and we'll see you soon.